Good morning and welcome to Uprising. I'm just uprising. I'm just waking up and it's cold and I'm wearing shorts and I am cold. But I just know it's going to get warm today, so that's why I'm wearing them. Got a few things in the way here. Basically, the first thing I'm going to do, now we are going to talk a little bit about brownsgas and hydrogen today, mostly because there seems to be a massive amount of confusion. I thought I've already clarified this. Well, I have clarified in videos, but even with the clarification, people either still don't understand or, in a lot of cases, just don't believe me. And the reason that they don't believe me is because I will say before I begin, you guys know I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm not making any medical claims, and I'm not making any claims for or against any product or products. This is not about products. This is about the truth and people understanding the truth. And unfortunately, there's been such a huge quote unquote, and by the way, I'm cleaning my water. That's what I'm doing right there. And when I say cleaning my water, I'm talking to the extremely highest purity. So that is a carbon distiller. And this is the one I made last night. So I got clean water here too. Actually, I'm excited. I just realized I'm excited to turn on my distiller because it gets warm and I am cold, but I know I'll be fine. It will warm up. I do have a heat pack on me right now. But yeah, so I will be doing finally, because the problem is that there's so much with this whole Brown's gas thing, there's so much misinformation, and you can imagine pretty much almost all the misinformation is coming from people selling Brown's gas devices. And that's pretty much what's happened here. I actually think that somebody has literally just created, dare I say, and again, this is just my personal opinion, I just think that somebody has basically hijacked the whole thing, lying about hydrogen and this confusion with Brown's gas. But the one thing that we'll be able to clarify it, which I will be doing some videos about it here soon. In fact, on this video, for people, if they're not watching it live, because right now this is live, but the people who are not watching it live, you can later on fast forward towards the end and I'll show some stuff, but I'll be doing also some quote unquote videos on it later, just because of massive amount of confusion. And because people don't know who to believe or what to believe because they don't know how to research or they don't have the time to research, or it's all very confusing, mostly because of what people are being told by people out there. I'm not going to name any companies and I'm not going to name any people. It's not about throwing anybody under the bus. Again, this is about the truth, because if you don't have the truth and the knowledge that is correct, how are you going to utilize the proper information to try to do the best for your health, which is ultimately my perspective, because that's what I did to help my health and my life. And I just think it's important. Without the truth, it's not going to help you much. And what's going to help? It's like, well, okay, well then what's going to help, Mr. Hydrogen Man? Well, who's going to tell us the truth? Well, one of the smartest machines apparently in the world that can scour the internet in seconds, and that's what they call ChatGTP. ChatGTP does have access to a lot of this knowledge. And a friend of mine was telling me about it the other day, and they're like, you should really try it. I'm like, nah, I'm not really interested in a lot of computer or AI kind of stuff. And he's like, no, dude, you got to try it. I've been asking it questions about hydrogen, and everything you've said was right. And I'm like, well, I know that. And he's like, yeah, but people on the internet say things about you. They say that, you're giving misinformation and all stuff, but all it's proven is that you're right. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. But again, the people who badmouth me appear to be people in companies trying to sell products, and a lot of these are actually companies that I would not, that I refuse to talk about their products because they were, in my personal opinion, they were just terrible. And I try to share with you guys the right stuff, because the best water filters, the best hydrogen systems, anything that helps with the health and will help me. And so, that's what I try to do. Okay, so it appears that I'm low on my power shake. Let's see. I don't think we're going to have enough today. Well, maybe we will. Let's see. And this is so important. This is a staple to my smoothie. Without the power shake, it no longer is a multivitamin. This is what really makes it, is this powder. And it's why I'm so fond of it, and how clean it is as far as the lab studies on pesticides. And even just because something's organic doesn't immediately mean it has no pesticides, just so you know. And I've seen that myself. So That's one of these cases. And this is the very last bit of it. And I love this stuff. And why do I love it? Because, guys, if you can overcome nutritional deficiencies, let me tell you something. That is a beautiful thing. You probably are not realizing that almost every single American is deficient in something. And if you're trying to achieve good health, well, you need to overcome nutritional deficiencies, in my personal opinion. Now, if you were to talk to a doctor, now remember, this is not medical advice. So if you were to talk to a doctor or whatever, he may be like, oh, it's no big deal if you're a little deficient here. I mean, you'll even have doctors tell you that a level of 40 for vitamin D is, considered normal and the level's fine. In my personal opinion, no, not good enough. The data to me shows that we should be at about an 80, and they'll say, well, yeah, anywhere between, 40 and 100 is good. And I'm like, well, that's kind of true, but I would want to be at levels between 80 and 100 based on some data, which I won't talk about because that data would probably get me, yeah, I don't need to talk about that. But if you guys have questions about brownsgas versus hydrogen, you can also let me know. But basically, the big misunderstanding has to do with everybody assumes, and this is because of, again, what they're listening. This is, you know what? I will say this. The fundamental issue with listening, so when I was really ill and I was trying to get better, I would listen to all these people out there. And it was very frustrating because everybody had a difference of opinion. Everybody's like, no, you should, only eat meat, or you should only eat vegetables, or you should only eat raw foods, or you should only drink this water and don't drink that water. And then right now with the whole brownsgas thing, it's like, no, brownsgas is better, Or it's the same thing as hydrogen. And by the way, it's not. It's not even, it really isn't. And I'll explain all this. But the problem is because all these different people's opinions, this would cause a lot of problems, confusion, and frustration, especially when you're trying to get your health right, like where I was. I mean, I could not hold a jar like this. I wasn't able to walk. I had a heart problem. I had all sorts of medical issues, right? And so I just wanted the truth. And that's still the way that I am. I hate to say this, but I don't really care about people's opinions about health. I don't, because people's opinions, from what I've realized through massive amounts of research, are oftentimes wrong. And it's not that I don't like the people or that I'm trying to be rude, but what I want is I want the truth. That's what I want. Not completely non-biased. Whatever the truth is, that's what I want. And that's what I've always tried to share with you guys on my channel. And so when it comes to the whole brownsgas thing, the truth is, guys, there is no medical data. And I'll prove it to you towards the end of this video. But like I said, I'll be making some other videos about it because the massive amounts of confusion. And you have to be careful when using the wrong hydrogen or doing hydrogen incorrectly. Why do I say that? Because I literally have had multiple emails of people who've been harmed by using the wrong forms of hydrogen or brownsgas. And most of them, well, actually, I hate to say it, in both categories, but most of the people who've emailed me who've had trouble with certain aspects of their health from using certain equipment, most of them have been brownsgas because of the chemicals that people are using to make it, which really shouldn't be something, in my personal opinion, that people should be doing, but that's what they do. So they use a chemical, which is the main ingredient literally in Drano, which is lye, sodium hydroxide, and then, people end up, they think that it's a clean way to make hydrogen. Let me tell you, no professional uses that in Japan. It is, dare I say, in my personal opinion, completely ridiculous. And just the wrong way to do it. And they don't realize that the oxygen that the people claim, like, oh, it makes oxygen too. People need to understand there needs to be what's called an understanding of, there is a difference in oxygen and purity, and it is not making medical grade oxygen. And that's a problem too, because the oxygen, in my personal opinion, that it's making is probably not really very clean. And also the dangers of using oxygen on a regular basis. So again, I'm going to show you all this towards the end of the video when I sit down here, because literally I was talking to my buddy who was telling me about Chat GTP, and he's like, dude, this thing is really, really knowledgeable. And I was thinking, I was kind of skeptical. I was thinking, it's not going to be accurate about stuff. It's impressively accurate, because it like literally knows the data. Now, of course, is it going to make mistakes sometimes? Probably, but really, if you ask the questions correctly and you're not trying to be biased, it's quite accurate. And it even starts talking about purity, which is something that almost nobody talks about, which is the big thing that I've been talking about for a long time. And the Japanese understand the purity aspect, but America just doesn't seem to get it. I've literally spoken to people who are just straight up in denial, which is funny. That just reminds me of a scene of a movie yesterday that I was watching. They're like, denial is the most predictable of all human behavior. And I was thinking, really? That's interesting. It was one of those Matrix movies. And, but for me, all I want people to know is I want people to stay safe, and I sincerely want the best for people. That's all I want. I just want people to be healthy and then happy, and then beyond that, take your life whatever direction it can go, and hopefully it's a very positive one. But my whole health journey has opened up a whole can of worms, in the sense that it's opened up this whole world of me realizing, after a lot of research, I mean, massive, massive amount of research, guys. And I share it with you guys so that you don't really have to do it. I mean, you can do it too. That doesn't bother me at all. But then I will say, people, this is another one. People think that they're researching when they're just listening to a lot of YouTubers, which is kind of what you're doing here, right? You're listening to another YouTuber. The difference is that I really just, my life was on the line, guys. So I had to, by the way, these are hydrogen raisins that were soaked in hydrogen water overnight. I'm going to put these in here. But my life was on the line. So I couldn't mess around, I couldn't just, try to make stuff up. I had to really figure stuff out. And instead of going off of people's opinions, like I said, I went off of scientific data. And that was very hard to find when it came to the world of hydrogen. And in some cases, I have to think very independently. So I can give you an example. One of the more independent thoughts where I have to make a choice. And then you guys comment, you tell me whether you think I was wrong, but this is what I did, and it's worked extremely well. So right now, by the way, I'm going to make more hydrogen raisins. So I'm putting some raisins, organic raisins, in here. If you guys want to see how I do it here, I'll just show you. How do you make hydrogen raisins? Believe me, for health, nobody talks about this. Your body needs water and fiber. It is like, you don't even know how important that is. Everything needs to keep moving. And all I do is pour, and it really depends on what kind of hydrogen water. There's certain water that I would not do this with. And Kangen water being one of them, actually. But there's a lot of them that I wouldn't do it with. And so now that it's soaked like this, I'm just literally going to put it in the refrigerator. That's how easy it is. And then it will be there ready for tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow. So yes, so you have to go off the data. And when I started doing that, and I started developing my own protocols, things started to go much better in regards to my health. And what I can tell you is, so let's talk about water. Let's just talk about water, because what I discovered, and by the way, blueberries, good for your vascular system, anti-cancerous, anti-angiogenic, lots of good stuff. All these fruits and vegetables are amazing, guys. Numerous studies, by the way, on how fruits and vegetables affect our body. They're carrying water, phytonutrients, minerals, antioxidants. I mean, I feel like the whole that's another argument that I'm not going to get into, where people talk about what's the best diet and best food. I will not go down that road right now, because, yeah, a lot of people disagree. And you know what? I don't like to argue with people. I really don't. If people want to do one thing or believe something, go for it. Your life, your body. Now, if you want the truth, though, that's going to be a little different. Okay, you know what? My hydrogen chia seeds are almost gone. So if you guys want to see how I make more, I can show you real quick. Because hydrogen chia seeds, or even if you don't have hydrogen water, just using clean water, are super awesome. And lots of minerals, lots of protein, obviously good nutrients, all this stuff. So let's see here if I can show you how I make it. Okay, so see, check it out. Chia seeds. They have good source of iron, fiber, they're gluten-free, whatever, but omegas, protein, calcium, all sorts of great stuff. And the funny thing about this particular situation with that I just showed you right there on there, says it has iron, the chia seeds. The reason it's interesting is because there was this doctor who contacted me, and one of the things that they had issues with was a family member who had issues. By the way, first you put the water in, and his doctor, the reason I'm thinking about it is that story is because it says iron in here, and they had a family member who had trouble with their iron levels. And by the way, you got to do this in this order, otherwise it doesn't work. First the water, otherwise these seeds get all clumped up for some strange reason. And even when I put them in there, you have to be quick. I literally have to go right away, put more hydrogen water in this immediately, because otherwise it won't work. And then I have to hurry. I'm filling it up all the way. And immediately what you have to do is seal it and start shaking it right away. Otherwise it gets real clumped up. And so that's how you do it. I'm going to put this away while I'm shaking this. But I remember this doctor contacting me about my blood work. Yeah, she was like, your blood work is amazing. I've never seen blood work like this, blah, blah, blah. But she got really surprised when I told her that I don't eat meat. And the reason she was surprised was one of them, she goes, your iron levels, everything's so perfect. How is that possible? Like, she just couldn't believe that it was possible. And like I said, I don't like to go into the whole diet thing much, but I will say water and hydrogen are my true specialty. And I'll admit, and I'll say a lot of things about the things that I don't know, but I'll tell you, when it comes to hydrogen, I definitely know my stuff. I've researched it too much, and I've gone to the highest places as far as top universities, medical professionals, what they actually use. And I've seen the mass, and it's all in Japan. The Japanese are the ones who are really at the forefront of all this. And it's been such an issue because America, the information being given here in so many ways is so inaccurate, in my personal opinion, of course. It doesn't line up with the data from Japan. People may talk about all the benefits of hydrogen. That's what they love to talk about, all the data, because, Japan did all this research and it's so amazing. But then they show you, unfortunately, the wrong way to make it or use it. And that's been my personal experience. So that's why it's confusing, because they go off of, quote unquote, all this supposed information, which is, all the information is accurate as far as hydrogen. What people haven't realized or is that the way that you make it truly does matter. And that's the problem. And then people throwing in brownsgas in there to make matters even more confusing. Because just so you know, brownsgas is not just oxygen and hydrogen. There are other gases, other quote unquote potential impurities. Let's just put it that way. And even ChatGPT knows this because it can scour the internet and it will not listen to people's, opinions in this regard. It wants data. And by the way, let's put some more hydrogen water in here. And so if you guys have a specific question, you can ask it, or I could just ramble on about it if that's what you guys want. Or you can ask any question, really. We can go down the rabbit hole of any subject right now. But while I'm making my morning, now this morning smoothie is more than just a morning smoothie, guys. I hope you guys understand that. This is not just like, you're just making a smoothie. No, this is, look, I have wonderful dinners, different things, but I am very well aware, although my dinners are nutritious and wonderful and blah, 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 they do not give me all my nutrients. My nutrients come from this guy right here, this smoothie. By the way, I'm adding some flax seeds, whole flax seeds, good for cancer. They've had studies on them. Amazing source of fiber also. If you notice, there's a lot of different fibers because of the data that's coming out of Japan. They're way ahead of a lot of other countries, by the way. Really good omegas, by the way, in this thing. Naturally occurring different fatty acids, omega-3s, omega-6s, even omega-9s. Yeah, flax seeds are just amazing. And you know what? We could go into all the benefits. Again, we could pull up some data if you guys really want. but it'd be very easy for you to Google and find out how easy it is to see how amazing those flax seeds are. Okay. Next, we are going to put, you know what I'm going to put? This is a very magical ingredient right here. Very, very anti-cancerous. And that is broccoli sprouts. Love these things just because they're so good for you. And you know, as you change your health, your palate begins to change. I would even say mature, because there's so much garbage that I just don't crave anymore that I used to crave. And it's almost like it's more mature, you know, it just seems like your palate's more mature. Okay, we got a lot of wonderful ingredients we're going to put in here that have been shown to be, well, dare I say, anti-cancerous, and that's just because of research studies, and highly nutritious. And so we're going to grab some of these, and some of them are really special ingredients. Unfortunately, it's ingredients that people are like, hey, I can't get those where I'm at. And that is unfortunately too bad. But just remember, I'm sure you can find fruits and vegetables in your area. Tons of research on fruits and vegetables and all the interesting properties. I do not look at I don't like looking at the mechanistic part of things, because it can confuse everything, and people do that oftentimes to make a point. You just have to look at the end result. How did it affect the human? That's all you need to know. You don't need to know, you know, this reactive protein interacted with this one, you know, all this stuff, because when you start looking at tiny little detailed little things, sometimes, so something can look like a good or a bad thing, but like, for example, something can look like it's good. I've seen this a lot. Something looks like it's good, and then the final outcome for the human, though, is not good. And then the other huge part about data, and you have to learn how to read it, is short-term data versus long-term data. That is a massive problem, because I am more into long-term data. Like, you could look at somebody breathing in oxygen for, you know, 2-3 days, the data's gonna look good. You look at somebody trying to inhale oxygen for like a month straight, or 2 months straight, or 3 months straight, it is not going to be good, guys. It is not going to be good. You do not want to be supplementing oxygen regularly. It's just not something you want to do. Why? Well, because when you start using oxygen on the regular, see, you're already inhaling a certain amount of oxygen. And if you start supplementing it regularly, your body actually gets lazy. Your body thinks that it has all this oxygen, and it begins to affect the production of your red blood cells. So all these little things that I've discovered are very important to getting your health right. And just so people do know, I have tried brownsgas. It's not like I've never tried it. It definitely did not fix my issue. Actually, it made me sick, and I couldn't understand why. And that was something that kind of upset me too. And the reason it made me sick was the chemicals. I didn't realize, you know, at the time, I didn't realize that it was affecting me. Let's see, does the Lourdes machine do inhalation as well, or just make water? So the Lourdes Hydrofix Premium, because there's a difference between the premiums and non-premiums. So Lourdes has 2 types of machines, and they make both the water and the gas inhalation. They're also the only machine in the world, the hydrogen machine wise, no hydrogen company does this. There's a reason these guys are number 1 in the world, by the way. It's not like it's just accident. It's because their equipment is so amazing. They're the only machine that is lab tested. Every single machine is lab tested and certified, because the manufacturer found out that there's so many little discrepancies, and you have to make sure that the machines are making the correct amount of hydrogen, and nobody tests their equipment. All these machines that are from China, some people claim their machines are made in America, but I hate to say it, they're not, because they're using Chinese parts. They just put them together in America and try to claim, oh, made in America. Very misleading stuff. That's what I found throughout this entire industry. And again, I'm not going to throw any specific company under the bus. I'm just telling you that I have seen this, and it's very unfortunate, because I love hydrogen, and I think that hydrogen is absolutely incredible for us. And I want to see people get the right kind and not hurt themselves. But yes, it does do the water and the gas. In fact, there's some information that I wish I could tell you that I'm not allowed to say anything right now. But all I'll say is that all it's going to do is prove, and this is coming in the future, all it's going to do is prove that what I've been saying this whole time is correct. That's all that this new stuff that's about to come out that I'm not allowed to say anything about at this time. But it's just going to prove the point. But basically, the important part is that the purity of it and the levels of it, and that's what in the company. I mean, I found them because by looking at data actually. So I was looking at the actual information from studies and levels that the professionals are using, meaning the people at, for example, KO University. KO University is the #1 university in the world, not only that researches hydrogen, but they use it literally medically in the hospital. And so not everybody does that. And so these guys pretty much appear to know more than anybody there is in the entire industry. And it's in Japan. That's a Japanese university. And that's where I basically have gotten a very large amount of the information. And unfortunately, again, in America, it's been total chaos in the world of proper knowledge. It's a complete mess here. It's just terrible. But eventually, but I'm going to try to release information to clarify it. I've tried to, but people, it's all about who people trust. That's the other issue. People are like, well, I trust this person. It's like, well, you may trust them, but they're giving you bad info. And are they giving you bad info because they know it, or bad info because they're ignorant on the subject? It's hard to say. I'm not going to make a speculation on why they do it. I guess you could say it's typically financially driven. But who knows? Maybe they really don't know what they're talking about. That's pretty common. Okay, this packet's no good. I'm going to throw that away. This is a very special ingredient. And by the way, let's see. Pyraldi says, what's your opinion on taking mushrooms like lion's mane and chaga? Yeah, I think mushrooms are absolutely amazing. So right now I'm going to put this thing right here is amazing too. This is natto. And I'm going to put this, I put this in the smoothie every day. All the health benefits of this is off the charts. I could go into them, but right now you're asking about mushrooms. So mushrooms, yes, I am a fan of mushrooms, a big fan. I absolutely love mushrooms. I eat them on the regular. And I personally think that there's so much more to learn about mushrooms. I feel like mushrooms are like this infinite realm that you could go down. And we don't know everything about them. Kind of like the way that we don't know everything about all our gut bacteria. We still haven't identified all our gut bacteria, and the bacteria in our body outnumber our cells in our body, I believe, 10-1. So I mean, this is huge. By the way, let's go ahead and activate this. But yes, I think mushrooms are super wonderful. I've been a big fan of them for a very long time. By the way, to activate the natto, you have to stir it. And so I guess back to the subject, if you guys are actually interested, I don't want to ramble on about this. I'm only doing it because of all the numerous emails that I've been getting for a while now. And most recently, one of the viewers was like totally confused. They're like, oh, I thought brown gas was hydrogen. I'm like, no, not at all, actually. If anything, it's more water. When they tested it, it's basically like a water vapor. And that's very different than pure hydrogen. And the research, believe it or not, people get confused about. There's like, well, there's a bunch of research where they use oxygen and hydrogen. That is actually not brown's gas. If you were to use a very high grade pure oxygen, like medical grade oxygen, and then you were to use a very high purity, high grade molecular hydrogen, and you give some to the patient, depending on what they need about the amount of oxygen, depending on the amount of hydrogen they need, that is not brown's gas. Brown's gas is literally, it's just somebody electrolyzing water, obviously under some pressure. And if anything, it's going to be used more in the future. See, brown's gas will have its use, but you're definitely not using it for human health. The Japanese have known about brown's gas. They're the first that I discovered that informed me when I contacted a company that specializes in brown's gas in Japan, that they just haven't found it to be very medically efficacious. Yeah, it's got some hydrogen in it, but they're like, pure hydrogen works way better. That's the reason that they've done so many medical studies on it and approved them medically. Brown's gas is not approved medically, and that's because it just wasn't shown to be nearly as effective. And there's many reasons why. I mean, brown's gas is not going to be able to penetrate the deepest, craziest part of your cells like hydrogen can. And instead of me giving you what appears to be my opinions, I'd rather just show you the actual information. So I will do that as soon as I'm done with the smoothie, and we can go over this, guys, and you guys can actually see it. Unless, again, you have actual questions. If you guys just want to ask a question, I'll do my best to answer it. But it is, like I said, it is a subject that I actually am well informed on. And I usually do not like speaking about things that I'm not well informed on. And let me tell you my thought process too, if you guys want to know how I have come up with a lot of things that I've come up with. Like, let's talk water. And go ahead and give me your opinions. Okay, you tell me. Actually, I would love to hear your guys' opinion. And there's not a lot of people in the room, but you tell me. What's the most important thing about the water you're going to be drinking? Is it one, the pH of the water? Is it two, how many minerals are in it? Is it three, how clean it actually is? So, or, whatever else you can think of or come up with. Go ahead and tell me, what do you think is the most important part, or should be the most important part when picking your water? Because that's what I was asking myself. I'm like, okay, what's the most important thing when I was trying to heal and I was super ridiculously sick and I shouldn't even technically be alive right now? And I was like, everybody's giving a different answer about what the best water is. And everybody's promoting some different machine and which is the best one. And it wasn't so much who can I trust. I wasn't really people think that way, but I was thinking, well, who has the right information or who has the wrong information? Like, what is going on here? It was too confusing. So what eventually did I do? Because by the way, I'm a very independent thinker. So at some point I'm like, you know what? I can't listen to these people anymore. Everybody's giving me a different answer or even changing their own mind later on down the road. So what's the most important answer? How do you think I looked at it? Or why don't you tell me how you look at it? Because somebody just sent me that question the other day too. And let's see what you guys write. Okay, let's see. Soldier says clean, I would say. How clean is the water, says Helen. Well, see, that's exactly what I would think. Okay, what's the cleanest water? Now, granted, then you really get into even deeper data in regards to the water, because somebody could be like, well, it's got a bunch of minerals in it. Okay, well, are they organic minerals? Are they inorganic minerals? Do we really get the majority of our minerals from water in the first place? What's this whole thing? I mean, where's the confusion? For me, it's exactly what you guys eventually just typed there. For me, I was like, I just want the cleanest water. I don't care, because I had to eventually reach a point where I said, you know what, I don't care what the pH is, because everybody was so gung-ho about the pH of the water. It's all about the pH. It's all about the pH. Oh, yeah, we'll filter it. We'll get some relatively clean water. See, they don't tell you how clean or lack of clean the water would be after running through certain filters. I'm not going to throw any filter companies under the bus either. But ultimately, it was about cleanliness. But here was my other thing. As I was thinking about it, the way that my brain works is I think nature has so much to offer us, and it's incredible, and sometimes we just need to simply observe it. So I remember thinking to myself, finally, I was like, you know what? How in the heck does nature clean water? And I've posed this question to many people. Most people think it's like, oh, it goes through the soil and whatever. Let me tell you how nature cleans water, guys. It's quite simple. It starts with hydrogen because it starts with the sun, and the sun hits the ocean. And when the ocean gets all heated up, the water begins to ascend. And as the water ascends, meaning it rises or whatever, uprising, right? Just like my name of my channel. And as it ascends, as it uprises, that is where the purity comes in. Because only the purity can truly ascend. That's the interesting part about water. Only the purity. It will leave all impurities behind, guys. It's unbelievable. That's how simple it is. It's called the hydrologic system. So not only does it ascend, but it will also leave all viruses, all bacteria, all parasites. None of that can ascend with water. Water is so magical. It's all over ancient scriptures. In fact, there's an ancient scripture that talks about, for example, the purity of, so a lot of people do not realize that rain and snow is distilled water. A lot of people don't realize that. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's shocking. Not everybody's a water expert, but rain and snow is distilled water. And so rain and snow, for example, I'll give you, there's ancient verses, even in the Bible, where it says things like pure as a driven snow, pure as white as snow. They're talking about the purity. And a lot of times when they say pure water basically should mean, or often means, it just depends on who's writing whatever you're reading, but technically pure water is distilled water because it is of the highest purity and is oftentimes used even in the medical field. When you make things and you have to start with an extremely clean base, you're not just going to use tap water. You have to use either pretty much carbon distilled, like extremely, extremely clean. And then I started doing, once I figured that out, then I double and triple check. So remember, and I'm also a skeptic. That's why I don't like listening to bad information anymore. It just upsets me. I'm like, I don't need to listen to these people. Most people are wrong. And even though not to toot my own horn, but I do think that I pretty much have some of the best data information on the internet. Almost nobody knows my channel because I don't have, like you have to call yourself, oh, I'm a doctor, and everybody will supposedly listen and whatever. And that's okay, But the point is, the water being pure, carbon distillation, only way through the vapor, through the transformation of the water into a gaseous form, and it rises up and separates itself from everything else. And so then I started reading the actual lab reports, and I started seeing the lab studies on carbon distilled water. And that's when I realized, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the only, because every single time I would research a water filter, the companies wouldn't tell you this, but I'd have to do some deep research into their filters. Basically, what I discovered is the filters wouldn't filter everything. And that went for every single water filter out there. Not one of them could filter everything. And I was always thinking, well, that's weird. So they would have to either create a certain concoction in the filter that would filter out this or that, or whatever they would choose to try to filter, but they couldn't do this and that. It's almost like a car. If you want a car that's really good off-road, it's going to be jacked up off the ground, it's going to have giant tires, and yeah, it can go great off-road. But once you're on-road, the thing handles like crap and will probably tip over really easily. You can't have it both ways. You can't have a car that handles like a Ferrari but can go off-road. And there are cars that are decent at doing both. Oh, that I just throw away some of my good celery in there. That was kind of silly. And so it's hard to have it both ways. And that was the way it is with water filters, unless you do carbon distillation. But then you get a lot of people saying things like, well, you shouldn't drink distilled water. It's so bad for you. I'm like, really? Okay. I just had to stop listening to that. I had to listen to myself and not get scared of drinking distilled water. I've actually been drinking carbon distilled water for a very long time. For a while there, I switched to some other filters because I thought they were pretty decent. But in time, I just realized that was, again, inaccurate. Let's see here, because I even found out, and again, I won't name any companies. I actually found out that there are companies out there that sell water filters that are actually making your water more toxic. And yeah, there's going to be some lawsuits or whatever. And it's because, in my personal opinion, who's making these water filters? We've been having everything made in China, guys, lately. And I'm not saying that, I'm not going to throw China under the bus because I'm not even going to say that this company's filters are made in China. My guess is that they probably are, but I didn't name the company. So I'm not going to tell you the name of the company. But yeah, some of these water filters appear to be making the water worse, which is crazy because to make tap water even worse, guys, that's pretty bad because tap water is already an absolute mess. And that's another cool thing about carbon distillation. Pretty much no filters. I mean, you're doing it through the process of the hydrologic system. It's something that's innate within nature. Whoever created the earth. Now, if you believe in what the Bible says, for example, says God created the heavens and the earth. So, I mean, he built it within the system. That's why I personally trust that system and the way that works more than some filter, made, I don't even know, God knows where, right? But I'll go with the hydrologic system. That's what I primarily do. Now, granted, are there some distillers that are better than others? Well, yeah, of course. But you get access to whatever it is you can get access to, and you do the best you can. And so anyway, I don't want to ramble on a subject that you guys are not interested. So hopefully, here, let me see if you guys have any questions. I'm too busy making this. Ascend water, the only water for me. That's right. What does 144K mean, man? Well, you'd have to read the ancient scriptures, but uprising has a lot to do with, I really felt, it has multiple meanings. For me, the whole reason I named my channel that was because I had some very, very strange spiritual experiences that I don't typically like to talk too much about because, religion and politics, right, guys, tend to alienate people. So, I usually don't go into it. But I will say that uprising is like I felt like I was dead, guys. I felt like I was dead in my soul, and my body was halfway there. You know, not being able to walk, having people that needed to help me because I was, unable to do anything for myself, and it was very, very heartbreaking. It just crushed me, and when I was able to start rising up again, I felt like I was rising up from amongst the dead. I was getting my life back. And that's why I've done what I've been doing. Even with these videos, you can see that I've been doing it a long time and I really don't have a huge following because I have no idea. Honestly, guys, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I have no idea what I'm doing on the YouTube thing. I don't know how to work the algorithm. I don't have techie friends or people that will help me. Like Joe Rogan has Jamie, right, on his show, the computer guy. Like, I don't know anything. I literally am running this channel on just my iPhone and just, recording. If you notice, I don't even know how to edit videos. Like, I don't know, some people didn't even notice. They recently were telling me, they're like, oh my God, I just realized your videos are not edited. Like, no, because I don't even know how to edit. I just put the phone, record, hit stop. That's pretty much it. And all I try to do is give you guys the best data and the best info. And the whole uprising thing is me rising up from amongst the dead and hoping that other people who can take this knowledge and do the same, because that's the whole purpose for this is I want people to be healthier and happier and bring that happiness into the world and share it with others rather than when we're sick. Look, I know what it's like to be sick. So one thing I can tell you, and I'm sure a lot of you who have been sick before or are still sick can relate to this, it's hard for you to be happy when you're in pain. And it's hard for you to be patient when you're in pain. It's hard for you to be loving when you're in pain. It takes every ounce of energy that I had to just be tolerant with literally the people who were trying to help care for me. And that wasn't easy. These are people who are trying to be kind to me. But when you're in pain, you don't have the energy to. I mean, I tried to be as polite as I could, and I certainly wasn't rude to the people. But man, it's very, very difficult to try to be, super friendly and happy and whatever. It's just extremely hard when you're sick and you can't take care of yourself. That was the one that was very hard for me, guys. I'm telling you right now that I don't want to be a burden. I've always hated to be a burden ever since I was a child. When I was a child, it's kind of a weird, funny story, but even as a child, if you were to ask my parents probably laugh about this. When I was a child, I wanted to somehow figure out how to work or make income or not be a burden on my parents. And that was from a very young age. I think I'm just going to guess. I don't know why I was like that, but my parents were always, well, poor. They were broke. And there's many things that I just couldn't get that I would maybe want. Usually clothing, but just anything, even certain toys, whatever, and I would try to order the cheapest stuff on the menu, and I just wanted to figure out a way. I was like, okay, what can I do to try to help, maybe go mow a lawn or do some type of job or something that I could help, you know, my parents' situation. Because by the way, my parents, not to get off a tangent here, they're amazing people. And I know a lot of people say that about their parents, and I'm sure that's true. But my parents are truly, truly remarkable. And so much so that I oftentimes felt that I could not ever achieve being even just as great as they are. And and that's sad in some ways because I personally believe that we should always try to surpass our parents and be even greater, and that's how we honor them. And you know, I would like to do more and be better, and that's a huge part. And uprising is part of that a lot. being better, rising up to the occasion, rising up from amongst the dead, separating yourself from the things, you could say the impurities, but separating yourself from things that maybe you once were, or separating yourself from not the good and into the best that you can be. And spiritually too, not to go too much on the spiritual side of things, but that it is the things that I've been through affected me a great deal spiritually. Because like I said, trying to purify my body brought upon very, very strange spiritual experiences that I would have never in a million years guessed. Never, ever, ever did I think that it was important to that spiritually purifying the body had anything to do with anything. I just didn't really think it mattered. And it didn't matter what anybody said, because I ended up experiencing it by accident. I didn't even do it on purpose. I was just trying to purify my body to heal. I ended up having this ridiculous experience. And I've had more than one. And that's why it became so important to me that I take care of my body and keep it extremely clean, because the way that it affects what I would feel like is just my connection, to source, as you might say. And it's brought so much more clarity. Like, my brain is so clear, and I know that not, and this is not, throwing anybody under the bus or anything, but I don't think that many people's brains are as clear as someone who does the things that I do. And hydrogen's been a huge part of that in clean water. A lot of minerals, no salt, and I'm putting them in the smoothie. Why in the smoothie and not in my water? Because they actually work with the fibers. I found data on this too already. So this is where you really get the majority of your minerals, guys, from your fruits, your vegetables, your nuts, your seeds, and your beans. I have all that in there. Can you believe that? Okay, I'm going to run this blender. It's going to make some noise, and then we'll go over some more stuff, and I'll dump this compost, and I'm going to show you a few tricks. We're not totally done with this. A few tricks to make it super crazy nutritious. Yeah, it's going to be super crazy, because I discovered that you want everything combined with the fruits and vegetables. That's how this whole thing works. It works synergistically. That's the thing about health that people need to understand. There are just certain things that work synergistically, and this is one of them. So here we go. Let's see here. Wow, that thing looks like it's moving around. And I like to shut it off periodically, let all the big chunks go to the bottom where the blades are. All right, here we go. Let's do it one more time. Okay, let's see here. This is what I'm looking for. All right, I'm going to put a tiny bit of hydrogen water in these jars, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to do the magic ingredients. And for the person who was asking about mushrooms, this is how much I like mushrooms. I literally put it on my lid. This is for me. That's how I know that one's mine. Okay, and you know what? Let's keep going here. I'm going to cut these with a little bit of hydrogen. And here comes yeah, that's definitely not done blending. I can hear still chopping up stuff. Here's the magic ingredients that I'm going to add to this thing. Now, I already loaded up on hydrogen water. So just so you know, this is part of the protocol. I drink the hydrogen water super clean, the best there is, with the best water also. And that is in the Hydrofix. I drink 1 liter. That's for me. No medical advice for what other people do, because it all depends on your kidney health, what maybe medications you're on, all sorts of stuff. But that's what I'm doing. 1 liter is my good amount. Empty stomach. That's the thing that I've discovered. These are all my discoveries. But there have been a lot of people out there who they steal my methods. It's funny. Only the people in the know have found my channel. The people who are not in the know haven't. And they obviously take a lot of my techniques because they work. And that's okay. Let's chop those vegetables up. Okay, while I was chopping those up, I can hear it chopping. Let's go ahead and get a little hydrogen water in the jar. And this is just to enhance absorption, to enhance the way it moves through your body. See? Cut it a little bit. To enhance the antioxidative properties. All that good stuff. I can still hear it chopping stuff. Here, give me 1 second. I can still, you can feel it and hear it. Okay, that should be good. If it isn't, we'll run it a little longer. Let's hope this thing doesn't pop in my face. Sometimes when it's over full, it will literally do that. Oh, look at that. Literally right to the tippy top, guys. Now, see, this is my breakfast. Can you imagine all the stuff in here? The amount of protein, the amount of minerals, the amount of nutrients this thing is. And it's all food, guys. Why food? Because the data shows that our body responds and assimilates food better. And so I thought, okay, how am I going to do this? I'm going to figure this out. Let me tell you something, guys. When I want to figure something out, I can, but I want it to be the simplest, most inexpensive possible way. And look at this. This is not that expensive, especially when you stop buying all the other garbage that you would normally eat. That's where things change for me. Once I stopped buying all that stuff, I was like, oh, I can't afford this. But then some people are like, wait a second, but I can't live off that. I can't just live off a smoothie. Well, I do. And not only that, my blood work looks great. If it didn't look great, then I would have done a video saying, well, you know what, guys, it turns out my methods didn't work. I'm gonna have to try something else. And then I would show you what, I mean, I would keep going until I would find it, but I found it. So why do I need to change? D3 with K2, ionic. You're not gonna find much D3 in food, guys. It's extremely hard to get and to get enough levels. It's the only thing, the only basically vitamin that I'm putting in here because the powders already had all the other vitamins. This is and the food has a lot of the vitamins. This is the only one you will not get from your food. And the food that has it in it is not food that I would eat regularly. It is so polluted these days, and that's like a lot of seafood. So here we go. Ionic is the second best form too. Number one is always your food, guys. I'm telling you right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you know what? And of course, people are like, well, can't patent food. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you pretty much can't sell it, you know, like some product or some pill or, oh, this multivitamin, whatever, you know. Sorry, companies. I would obviously make a lot more if I were promoting all these different companies, but this is what I use. So I always show you what I personally use, and this is boron, ionic form. Now, boron is very rich in raisins, which I already put in there. So from food already. I'm just putting a little extra because this stuff's good for your bones, ligaments, brain health, by the way, brain function. This is all super important. And good for sex hormones. This is good for the testosterone, the estrogen, for both men and women. So this stuff is straight up magical, and I'm pretty much out. Just so sad because this stuff's been working like you wouldn't even believe. This was part of a video I did about increasing libido, and man, this protocol that I'm doing is working. Let's put it that way. It works, and it's good for even building muscle. I mean, I literally do almost no exercise, and people always ask me like, "How much do you work out?" I'm like, almost not at all. But I'm going to in the future. But once I start exercising, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to start swelling up. When I say swell up, I mean I'm going to start getting really muscular, and I'm not necessarily trying to do that. That's not my goal. I prefer to be a little leaner, more efficient. I don't need to have lots of body mass. Is not. I've been there, and when I was younger, I used to really be into lifting. I'm not super comfortable. Ionic chlorophyll is the next one. Now, this one you don't need to do. This was just a gift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Chlorophyll is awesome, and obviously you get it primarily from like your vegetables. And I really do like it, but it's not a necessary product. I only like to show people what is absolutely necessary, my personal opinion, if you want to improve your health, because I'm a minimalist, which means I don't want a cupboard full of supplements. I don't want a house full of machines. But there's certain things that are, in my personal opinion, absolutely necessary this day and age. A water purifier like the carbon distiller, it's just a necessity. Water is so polluted. Don't think for 1 second that your water is not potentially making you sick, okay? Because there's so much garbage in there. Again, we just go off data. We see what's in the water, and then we see these chemicals, and then we do research on these chemicals to see if they do anything for your health, and then they're like, oh, this causes cancer. So you just go off of data. It's pretty simple, but you really need to clean your water if you are ever to get yourself back into health. And so I have a water purifier, and then which I showed you at the beginning of the video, And then, of course, a hydrogen machine, a really good one that's going to last a long time and be super clean hydrogen because long-term exposure. This is some of the best protein in the world you can get. This is already ridiculously filled with protein, but this is omegas 3s and 6s. Again, lots of protein. But the nutrients, this is what I'm always looking for. More important than protein, guys, all your nutrients. And we're talking copper, zinc, phosphorus, B6, niacin, vitamin E, potassium, calcium, manganese, magnesium, whatever. It's so much stuff. This thing is almost a multivitamin all by itself. It's very impressive. And it does come from the hemp plant. Some people may be like, is that marijuana? I guess. Hemp, marijuana plant, I don't know. Pretty similar, right? But no, this stuff doesn't get you high. It doesn't have the THC in it, which is a compound that makes you high from marijuana. But no, this doesn't have that. And now there's just one magic ingredient left. That's it. I'm already ready to drink it. Sit down. Two bananas today. Yummy. Okay. Let's see here. We're going to answer some of your questions. Plug in my iPhone because it's old and it's about to die. And the last ingredient, my favorite one, pure hydrogen, not brownsgas, pure hydrogen. And then we'll answer questions. If you guys want, I can answer more questions about brownsgas, or I can stop talking about it if you guys are not interested. But let's see here. Let me sip this. Take my earpiece out. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I can definitely taste those broccoli sprouts in there. That really changed the flavor today. I like to inhale the hydrogen while I eat. Hydrogen appears to be very protective. When I say protective, against chemicals, anything really harmful to the body. The data on that is pretty clear too. And it's really amazing. If there's anything in this that I need protection from, even though it's all organic and super clean, there's always something. Okay, let's see here. Ascended water, that's awesome. Soldier's Crab says, can't wait for that channel. For what channel? What channel now? Hopefully soon. I'm a little confused. Soldier's Crab says, how much fiber a day do we need? I heard you mention that's a big number. Can you give the amount? Well, medical professionals, I believe, recommend something like 30-something grams of fiber, I believe. Well, here, let's just verify it. I don't give you medical advice. But yeah, 25 to 30, right, is what they tell you. Some I've seen say as much as I think 35 or 38 grams a day. Me personally, and that's not supplemental fiber. I'm talking about fiber from fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and beans, things like that. My personal opinion, and this is based on data though, it's probably closer, it's like 100 grams probably a day. You need a lot. That's, really new discoveries. Okay, Soldier's Craft says, is there a limited amount of hydrogen to consume? Well, first of all, when you dissolve it in water, it's going to be different because you have to limit the amount of water. If you drink too much water, you literally will die. And I say too much, we're talking like 2 gallons in an hour or something. That's why I limit myself to 1 liter in the mornings, and then before lunch I'll do another liter, and before dinner I'll do another liter. So like a total of 3 liters a day. That's what if you really want super powerful healing, in my personal opinion. As far as inhalation, if it's super, super clean and pure and done correctly, and there's no oxygen in it, so it's not Brown's gas, you can inhale this stuff for hours and hours and hours and hours. It's so clean. Did you guys know, well, here's another thing about the uprising. What does hydrogen do? Hydrogen uprises, it rises up, it ascends. That's what it does. It's also, I believe, the purest substance known to man. Let's see here. Yummy. So yummy. I'm looking for a napkin though. Give me 1 second. I'll answer more of you guys' questions, and if you want me to show the data or the information on brownsgas, we can get into that. Because that was the question that so many people asked, but if you guys are not interested, it's all good. Let's see here. Soldiers, do you eat meat as well? No, unfortunately not. Many reasons why I don't. I know they have really great nutrients. I'm not gonna say anything negative about it in the sense that if some people want to eat some once in a while, overconsumption of it, you need to look at the data, especially long term. I went a different route based on something that I don't even think I could even explain to you guys, to be honest. I could try, but I really, really don't think you want to hear it. And it would be a very, very long explanation. I could try to simplify it, but it's going to sound like a bunch of nonsense, and I tend to stick to more facts. And this one would not be as factual, but to me, I've gained so much clarity through what I've done. It's literally hard for me to explain a whole lot of things to people in general. My brain, the way that I look at the world now, is just different than I would say than the majority of the world, and so I tend to have to keep quiet about it because it's just too out there. So I'd rather stick to facts, help you guys with facts, something real simple. Keep it at that. Okay. Why don't you blend the hemp hearts? The reason I don't blend the hemp hearts is because the chewing action, again, scientific data, when you're chewing, the body begins to think, I'm getting ready for digestion. So I want something that I can chew on. Everything else is already chewed up for me. And so I like something I can chew on. The flavor's great also, I like the flavor. And the way it activates my jaw and the digestive process, and then I just bring everything in nice and chewed up perfectly and full of nutrients. Oh, the spiritual channel you talked about a while ago. Oh, I see. Yeah, so I'll probably, that's gonna be a really tough one because the other channel I want to open is not gonna really be specifically about spiritual stuff. It's mostly when I'm gonna travel to Japan, but I will probably touch on some of the spiritual stuff because so many people seem to be very interested in it. All I can tell you is this, look. Even in the Bible, even in just lots of ancient scriptures, the blood is so important. I mean, there's actually like a verse that says, life is in the blood. What goes in your mouth goes in your blood. You eat a Twinkie, you eat a big steak, all the fat, all the sugar from the Twinkie, whatever, goes into your bloodstream. And this is why a lot of people get clogged arteries and all sorts of crazy things that happen, depending on what you're eating. And so I do my best to clean my blood, to keep it as clean as I possibly can. And you need a lot of fiber to keep things clean. You need a lot of clean water to keep things clean. Hydrogen takes that to a whole other level also. You need to move that blood. Soldier's Craft says, I want to hear it. Yeah, you may be the only one, Soldier's Craft. You're actually the only one commenting, I guess. Seeing maybe nobody wants to hear it. Okay, let's give it some information. I mean, we can go into it, but let's give some information here real quick. Let's see if I can find it for you. Gotta be here somewhere. Where are you? There you are. Okay, let's do this. I don't know if you guys know what, I got an AI system here that can scour the internet for information. And like I said, I found it to be more accurate than I would have ever expected. And I'll do a video on this, but actually, can somebody comment out there, maybe multiple people? Let me know if you really want to hear this stuff about brownsgas and hydrogen. If you guys already know, I don't need to go into it. Okay, Helen says, finding natto is a challenge. I have to travel to get it. I noticed online a lot of supplemental natto products. Yes, wondering if it's worth it to use those when I'm waiting to replenish my natto supply. At this time, I probably wouldn't, because most of the supplemental ones are mostly just like an enzyme. And I'm looking for a really great product in regards to that because people have been asking. So I'm going to share that with you in the future when I find it. But I like the whole food product, always, right? It's always the best. I'll say almost always the best. Okay, let's see here. How can we talk about brownsgas? Let's see. Okay, where are you? There's the information I was looking for. Okay. Terry C says, I want to hear it too. Okay, well, now I got two people. What Japanese rice brand do you use? I don't really look at the brands. I tend to look for organic, and I look that it's made in Japan when it comes to rice. They grow rice like nobody else in the world, okay? I could go try to grab the bag that I use, but I actually already took it out of the bag. I put it in a giant glass jar. So it's all stored and sealed up. I'm starting to really get into the sealing thing too. I seal things and suck, you know, for purity and keeping things fresh. One thing you'll realize is that I'm really big on purity. And I guess if you guys really want to hear it, look. Oh man, I really don't want to share this one. I'm going to be very brief about it. As I went through, is it from Costco? No, I definitely do not buy my rice from Costco. Sorry. I'm sure they have great rice. I've never really looked because I go to a very specific store to get them. Michelle says, me too, just got in phone to comment. Been watching on TV. Has brownsgas okay for a bath? I don't. It probably would be better than drinking it. I'm not even sure if I take a bath in it. Do the better machines have submersion atones for bath? Okay, what people don't realize, this is a major problem with this whole bath thing. This has been a very, I need to answer this. I need to like make a video about this. You have to understand, you're trying to put these gases like hydrogen or oxygen or, by the way, the brownsgas makes other gases too that nobody ever talks about, and I personally think they're potentially dangerous. And so in order to dissolve these gases in a bath would take a massive amount of energy, guys. Think about it. Just this device here, one of the best in the world, it takes half an hour to dissolve fully saturated hydrogen into that water. 30 minutes for 1.5 liters. How much do you think it would take? How much time to dissolve a gigantic tub full of water? Not to mention, when the temperature of the water is higher, meaning when the water is hotter, the gas is leaving so much faster that now you need even more power pumping through that water. I'm sorry to tell you, you are not going to make a hydrogen bath at home. The kind of equipment that is required, and I've seen it, I can't say what it is because I'm not allowed to. I made a promise for the people who showed me. Let's just say that you would need hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to make a proper hydrogen bath. It would not be cheap. And there is no way you're going to have it in your home unless you are rich. The best thing that you really need to do is either drink the hydrogen water. That's going to be your best bet. Drinking it, because this is what you have access at home. Drink it and inhale it. Inhaling will saturate your blood with the hydrogen anyway. Baths, I'm sure, are awesome, and I'm going to share more information in regards to it in the future. But you have to understand the right way of doing it, and you're unfortunately, without the proper money, you'd never be able to do it right as far as baths are concerned. So yeah, it'd be silly. Sorry. Putting a little bubbler stone and bubbling up an entire bathtub when the tub is hot, no, it's not gonna work. I'm sorry to say that. Michelle says, wow, so grateful for truth and correct knowledge. Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad you guys are finding this helpful.
I've been trying for so long. Terry C says, maybe people could sponge themselves down with hydrogen water. You could. You could try to sponge yourself off with hydrogen water, but remember, the amount of hydrogen that is in water versus the gas is very different. You can only dissolve so much in water, and believe it or not, the levels are not that high. Terry Dalcos. Hi, Greg. How far in can you expect blood pressure to regulate with the Hydrofix? Well, Terry, it really depends on a lot of factors. Again, it's not medical advice or anything. It depends on how long you've had it, what's not just truly causing it, but how good your protocol is in regards to getting there. Because what if you're just eating cheeseburgers and Twinkies and drink a little glass of hydrogen water and you're like, well, how come my blood pressure is not regulated yet? If you want super fast results, drink these for breakfast and lunch, look at my dinner videos, get some healthy videos, and watch my video 337, I believe it is. I think it's 337. Really talking about the proper hydrogen protocol. I would definitely use the cleanest water possible. That does make a difference in my personal opinion. And then watch video 426. Definitely watch how to maintain the Hydrofix. Because if you don't maintain it right, it won't be giving off the full amount of hydrogen. So, but anywhere from 6 to 8 months is typically what I've seen when doing a proper protocol. But I've seen people get results much faster. I've seen people who get literally within just like a month or two sometimes. But it all depends on the effort and the protocols and everything. You can email it to me too if you ever want to talk about it. Soldier's Craft says, spiritual story, please. Okay, I'll try. Give me a second. Michelle says, I have to figure out how much solar to run carbon distiller and Lourdes. Do they run for hours? It depends. You literally just run it when you practically need it. I mean, they can be on standby mode. The Hydrofix will be on standby mode. But it uses, I don't think the Hydrofix uses a ton of electricity. The distiller probably uses more, and you only run it when you want to clean your water. And then I store it in jars, Let's see here. Terry Dalcos. I traveled for a week 2 weeks ago to a very cold place, and my lips went really cracked. I was missing the Hydrofix. Absolutely, I've been through that. As soon as I got back home, Hydrofix plumped up my lips in 2 days. There you go, my friend. It is magical stuff. I mean, I love this machine. I love that the Japanese created it. I love the guy who really stuck his neck out there to do it the right way. He didn't do it in China. I found out that he's like, China could have done it cheaper, will not do it. I wanted the best for my daughter and just for people. And I love people who think that way. Michelle says, very interesting. There is a foot bath with titanium thingies that is having success drawing out metals. Wonder how that is. I hate to say it, those things are, I don't want to make a claim. I have those, deeply researched them. I don't personally think they're doing what they're telling us that they were doing. It was very disappointing. But it is kind of grounding. I will give it that. Michelle says it's working. Claims to have hydrogen also. Yeah, of course they're going to claim that. I know what that is. And there are literally videos out there that have shown you the scam and how it all works. And it was very, very surprising to me because I really thought it was real too for a long time. But you just have to do more research and you'll find, unfortunately, Michelle, and then of course they claim hydrogen now. They didn't in the past. Hydrogen is becoming such a thing that now they're telling everybody, oh yeah, it produces hydrogen too. I'm so sorry, but is it making a little bit of hydrogen through electrolysis? I don't know. I kind of doubt it. But anyway, I've seen those. I have some. Like I said, I spent a ton of money on a bunch of products that were totally unnecessary. Terry says, thanks to the Hydrofix, my dermatitis is gone. Awesome, look at that. Good for you, brother. Super awesome. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, I have found hydrogen to be so incredible for the skin. There's lots of data on that too. But Terry, yeah, go ahead and email me. I mean, I'd like to talk to you about your results and what's going on with blood pressure and all that stuff. I have clean skin. I never thought this would be possible. Happy so far. Looking forward to more health benefits. That's so awesome. Good for you, Terry. See, that's exactly why I do what I do. It really makes me happy. So great. Terry C says, LOL, soldiers, you're as bad as me. I'm always begging Greg for the stories. If it plumps lips, should do the same for all your skin, surely. Okay, so back to, well, I can either go spiritual story or talk about brownsgas versus hydrogen. Let me do the brownsgas thing first, because that was the whole title. Did the hydrogen work for different types of pain? Oh yes. Oh my gosh. I couldn't lift this up before. My joints hurt so flippin' bad. It was terrible. You know, inflammation. Obviously something kind of, hydrogen appears to be anti-inflammatory. Let's see here. Jazz Banana says, hey Greg, when traveling, I remember you said you take the machine as a carry-on. What do you tell airport security? You know, normally they don't even ask, but if they did ask, I would probably just say, look, it's a water ionizer. You can even say it's a water filter. A lot of people don't realize that the Hydrofix has a special filter that goes in the lid, and it can filter out water. Is it the best water filter in the world? No, no. This thing was definitely not designed to truly be the best water filter possible. It was mostly just to, like, I think if you're traveling and you don't have a water filter, you can take this little portable one. That's probably something that you could do. But that's what I would just tell them. I would not say anything beyond that. I would definitely not be like, yeah, it's a hydrogen machine, because the funny thing is they'll freak out about hydrogen thinking it's explosive. This machine, again, the brilliant part of the Japanese, they specifically designed this so that it wouldn't be explosive. At the proper concentrations, it's not explosive. And also, hydrogen's in the water, guys. It's not in the machine. The machine's awesome, and it extracts the hydrogen, but it extracts it from the water. So without water, there's no hydrogen. So, let's see here. Jazz Banana says, solid. Water filter makes sense to say. Gonna try to keep up the hydrogen lifestyle nomadically. Very good. That would probably be what I would do. Michelle, do you use it while traveling or just for safe transport? I load up on hydrogen. I do the traveling. When I get to the destination, I set up the machine. If I'm gonna be gone longer than a week or two, I'm willing to go a week or two without hydrogen. That shouldn't be a big deal. Anything beyond that, I gotta have my hydrogen. Hi, so do you put normal tap water into your hydrogen? Definitely not. I use the cleanest water known to man. It's literally right there. I showed you guys at the beginning of the video. Carbon distiller. Takes hours to clean your water, but that's the only way to clean your water completely. All viruses, bacterias, parasites, pharmaceuticals, all sorts of other chemicals in there like PFAS, fluoride, it just goes on and on and on, everything. Would different atmospheres affect it? Affect what? What do you mean with different atmospheres? Affect what? Are you talking about would it affect to take the hydrogen machine up on an airplane? It'd be fine. No big deal. Definitely a carry-on though. So you guys can keep asking questions if you want. I'll answer a few questions here about brown's gas, because people were asking about it. Okay, let's see here. Scientific evidence. All right. So have you guys ever heard of ChatGPT? What is brown's gas good for? I think the only thing that it's good for is energy. So you can use it as a fuel. It can, for like powering a car or an airplane or something like that, but it hasn't been perfected. And they have to use chemicals, which all it does is pollute the environment more. That's why it can't be done, because they put lye or something like sodium hydroxide into water, then the metal, and it produces the gas that can have energy, but then it gets all dirty So the water is like turns to brown sludge that you would never want to touch, drink. I mean, it's so dirty and, in my personal opinion, very toxic. Excuse me. I swallowed saliva down the wrong windpipe here. Okay, so let's go ahead and answer some questions here. And ChatGTP is quite smart. I'm a little surprised here. So the question I was asking it is about scientific evidence for brownsgas. Is there any scientific evidence that actually shows that it's good for your health, is what I was asking. And ChatGTP said basically, there is limited scientific evidence supporting the health benefits of brownsgas, which is exactly what I've discovered, same thing. So it's correct. Otherwise known as oxyhydrogen, which is, again, a mixture of multiple gases. And yes, hydrogen's in there, oxygen's in there, but there's actually other gases. We can go into some of that if you guys really want to. And it says, while there are claims, see, this is what I mean, just people claiming stuff, that inhaling or consuming brownsgas can provide various health benefits, including, you know, improved energy and whatever. These claims are actually largely anecdotal and completely lack scientific evidence, obviously, because the data is on pure hydrogen, not brownsgas. And if I ask about pure hydrogen, it's got tons of stuff. Like, it says it's important to note also that when inhaling gases, including hydrogen, and this is stuff that I've been talking about a long time ago, can have a significant health risk if not properly controlled or monitored. Obviously, it can be explosive and flammable, which this isn't. The way the Japanese made it had to be safe for home use. And also, inhaling, let's see here, exercise caution, consult your medical, physician, whatever. Okay, dangers of inhaling brownsgas. ChatGTP says, having a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen can pose several dangers if not done properly. This is exactly what I've been trying to tell you. First of all, oxygen deprivation. That would be potentially one. But I don't think that's the biggest issue. The biggest issue is, well, explosive hazards. That is definitely going to be, it's highly flammable. That is an issue. Lung damage. Okay. Inhaling such things could lead to respiratory issues. Prolonged exposure, which is what I'm always talking about long term, due to the so this is literally what it says: prolonged exposure or inhalation of impure gas. And this is what I'm always talking about, purity. I'm so glad that this machine is realizing that purity is so important and an increased risk of lung injury, which is exactly what I've seen. I've had people contact me with lung injuries. Obviously, a lack of scientific evidence. The health benefits of inhaling brownsgas are not supported by substantial scientific evidence. It literally relies on unproven claims, and using unregulated devices for gas inhalation is actually risky and even potentially harmful. This is what I've been trying to share with people. Obviously, consult your physician, whatever. Now, as far as the gases, nobody knows exactly all the different gases that brownsgas makes. And so this whole oxyhydrogen is produced through electrolyzing the water, and it has small amounts of other gases, and then of course hydrogen and oxygen, not medical grade, meaning the purity is just not there. But the exact composition depends on many factors. And obviously it's going to have a lot to do with like the metals, the chemicals that you put in there, the materials used is what it says. So the main gases that it's producing is, yes, hydrogen is one of them, oxygen is one of them, just water vapor, which is going to be mixed with whatever chemical that they're using, and traces of impurities. The impurities they're saying are things like, there's actually, they just call a lot of different types of atmospheric gases, including nitrogen, including CO2, so carbon dioxide, are going to get released from electrodes, or basically even the electrolyte if you're using something like lye, because that's what mostly people use. Lye is definitely not safe. I mean, even if people think that bubbling through water is gonna like filter it, I even asked it, is inhaling lye after bubbling through water safe? This machine, the chat GTP immediately says no. Inhaling lye after bubbling through water is not safe. Lye is also known as sodium hydroxide. It's a caustic substance that can cause severe damage to the respiratory system if inhaled. And this is yet, tons of people are doing this, by the way, guys. It's important to avoid inhaling lye or any other toxic substances. So how about, does bubbling lye through water truly filter out the toxic gases? Bubbling lye through water can help filter some of the toxic gases by trapping them in the water. However, this method is not sufficient to eliminate all toxic gases completely. See, it already knows all this. The effectiveness of filtration process depends on, it just goes on and on, but it's actually really, really well informed. I'm pretty surprised. Now, if we want to ask it a very simple question, because everybody thinks that brown's gas and hydrogen is the same thing. So here we go. Difference between molecular hydrogen and brown's gas. Let's ask us that. Wonder what someone could MacGyver my hydrogen to something used for something else. Oh yeah, I know about that device. I'm sorry that you have that. Terry says, I don't know if anyone has had this experience. So when I inhale hydrogen at night, I always have wild dreams, many times prophetic dreams. Have you experienced this? Uh-oh, let's not get into the whole spiritual stuff just yet. But Love always says, hi Greg, I'm very impressed by the durability of your powerful blender. Yes, please would you mind sharing its name and brand and model? It is Vitamix. It's just an old school Vitamix. Jazz Banana says, fascinating that ChatGPT actually has information like that. I know, I was shocked too. So what it says about brown's gas and hydrogen, this is really important. It says molecular hydrogen and brown's gas, which it calls oxyhydrogen, are two different forms of hydrogen gas with varying compositions. They're not really the same, okay? The key difference is this. One, the composition. So molecular hydrogen is pure hydrogen gas. Brown's gas, on the other hand, is a mixture of, obviously hydrogen's in there, oxygen's in there, and it says, and also different like varying proportions. Typically, when you electrolyze the water, the type of components, meaning like the metals, the chemicals that you're using, these are all gonna change what's in there. Safety. Molecular hydrogen's well-established safety profile when used properly. It is generally considered safe for inhalation and consumption. Brown's gas, however, can be potentially hazardous due to its oxygen content. Oh my goodness, this is exactly what I've been saying. And risks associated with inhaling or handling it, plus it's a flammable gas mixture, which would be really bad, guys. Remember, can you imagine if you're inhaling that stuff and a flame happens somewhere? What would happen? That flame would follow the gas and the gas is in your lungs. I can't even imagine what would happen to you. Research and evidence. Molecular hydrogen has been subject of extensive scientific research in years, and a growing body of evidence suggests potential health benefits. Many studies have investigated the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and therapeutic properties of molecular hydrogen. On the other hand, research on the health effects of brown's gas are specifically more limited, as the existing scientific evidence supporting its health benefits is lacking, because there's basically none. Administration and application. Obviously, you can inhale it, dissolve it in water and drink it. That's all about hydrogen. Brown's gas, due to its oxygen content, is not commonly used for direct inhalation or consumption in health applications, even though people are, and it's, I hate to say, kind of crazy. It is primarily used as an industrial process such as welding or as a source of heat, and that is absolutely correct. So blah, 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 blah. Anyway, but it talks about purity and all that, and I think is very important. And anyway, hopefully that answers a lot of people's questions. It's not the same stuff, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, Michelle says, the old school Vitamixes are awesome. Wonder if the newer ones more computerized ones are solid. No, they're not. People can find awesome factory refurbished ones at a good price. That's what I typically do, is I got the refurbished ones, because the new ones, if you're gonna get the new one, get the cheapest one. They all have the same motor. The ones that they tried to go real high tech with Bluetooth and all this stupid over technological garbage, I read that they had more reliability problems. So I go with the old school, I just control it myself, and that's how easy it is. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay. Maybe I'll touch a little bit on the spiritual stuff, because I know you guys really wanted that. And I wasn't gonna go super spiritual. I was just gonna tell you why I chose not to eat certain foods. And if you guys are still there, if you're not, I'll definitely easily let that one go. I'm gonna grab more meanwhile, more smoothie. So I gotta take this heat pack off. Good. Oops. Okay, let's grab some smoothie. Actually, that's funny, that song. I was singing this song in my head. I won't go into that either. Ugh, all this stuff is too spiritual. This is supposed to be a health channel. But I do think the health and spirituality are, they don't have to be connected. But, you know. Okay. Let's see here. Oh my goodness. Michelle says, just like cars. Not sure what was that all about. Some are better than others. Soldier's Craft says, yes, we are here. All right, here we go. Yes, please continue about spiritual. Terry says, yep, let's go deep. I wasn't gonna be that deep, but okay. Jazz Bandana says, yes, a Seeing Gospel of Peace has that part about only eating 2 to 3 foods. Now, how do you do that yet cover all your nutritional deficiencies? I completely agree with you, Jazz, and I will explain that in a second also. We are still here. Still here. Come on, guys. Like the video. Yeah, okay. Give it a thumbs up. Which song? Overly computerized. Oh, the song where it's like, it goes like, there's a light, a certain type of light, never shined on me. That song, because the light that they're talking about is a light that I experience also. And it's not a normal light. And so anyway, so this is what happened. I guess I'm just gonna briefly go into this. And this is just, the only reason I was gonna go into this was to answer the question about why I don't eat meat and certain products like that. And I do still have cheat days. I'll have a little bit of fish once in a while, which I know I shouldn't, but I do it once in a while, mostly from, I don't wanna say pressure, but you know, a family member will catch a super awesome, you know, salmon or something, and they want to have a moment with everybody and like, please try my salmon. Okay, I'll have a little bit, stuff like that. But when I was doing a lot of my cleansing and the experiences I was having, I didn't even know about this book. I didn't know about this book. Okay. So give me 1 second. I'm going to be drinking this while we talk. And so I was so sick and I was running out of options. I had tried so many things. And somehow I thought that if I would purify my body, maybe. No, this is not the Book of Enoch. This one's called the Essene Gospel of Peace. And a lot of people don't know this. They don't really know that Jesus was involved with the Essenes. In fact, the majority of the stories in here are actually about Jesus. In fact, he's supposedly right here. He's teaching the people. He teaches them of all things, and it's very common in the Bible where he goes around healing people. That's what's going on in this book. He goes around healing people, but his methods are very different in this book. He does talk about the things that we eat and, you know, getting parasites out of the body and all these different types of things. Now, when I saw this book, I actually thought, I'm sorry to say, I thought it was nonsense. I'm like, this is total nonsense. I thought it was crap, okay? I guess I mostly thought it was most of me, meaning like probably 80% of me or more, was thinking that this was most likely nonsense. That's what I was kind of thinking. This guy has a whole story about how this all came to be and how his father was a translator and how he had access to secret archives of the Vatican and even stuff from the Dead Sea Scrolls. And he was translating all this stuff in secrecy and all this stuff. Now, not to go too weird into the spiritual part, I ended up having, as I purify my body more, I had some very odd experiences. Now, I will say I do not think that this would happen to everybody. I wish it would. Maybe it would. The only reason I say that is because there are people who've tried to do similar things of me, and they had an experience, but it just wasn't quite the same. But similar, though. So they are similar. And anyway, without going over all of it, I ended up having this very strange experience that I literally thought was in no book. Never heard one person on planet Earth. No spiritual show, no guru, no guy like, what's that guy's name? All these Deepak Chopra and all these people, Sadhguru, and all these people who claim to be super spiritual people. And that's cool, you know, whatever, they're spiritual. There are depths to spirituality. Well, the experience that I can't go into how it all happened because it's a very long story. It involved a lot to get to this level. But I did have an experience that ultimately, of all the craziest things, this is the last page of this book, okay? Then here's supposedly Jesus. Thanks, Warfare. Somebody just gave me $2. Well, that's very kind of you. The story at the very end of the book is something that changed the experience is what changed my life forever. Seeing it in this book blew my mind like you don't even know. Because we're talking about something that I experienced that nobody, pretty much almost nobody on planet Earth has ever talked about. I'm telling you, I looked high and low to see if there's anybody out there. There was nobody. Okay? And sorry, somebody was making a comment there. It just wasn't anywhere to be found. And then all of a sudden I found it in this book. And not just that. In another part of the book where Jesus is talking about how to heal and all this stuff, he describes about running water through you in the way that I actually did that brought about a lot of these experiences too. And that shocked me. But the one that shocks me the most was this last page, or pages. Technically it literally starts from right here. The holy streams. So he begins to describe it. Now, I was there. And when I say I was there, I mean I went to this place. And this place is not a place you go to on planet Earth. There is no place you can go to. It's not like you travel to some distant place and have this experience. This place is somewhere else, okay? But I was lucky enough, and I was very lucky. Don't think for one moment that I do not consider myself extremely lucky. I am very, very lucky that I got to experience this. As he describes it, any of you would probably read this, including myself had I not experienced it, and it would make zero sense to you. This will make no sense to you. I could read it to you. It's not going to matter. You guys will have no idea what this means. Nobody practically would. And when I read this, I knew that this book was most likely, I'm not going to say 100%, but the information in here is most likely accurate. Then I started applying the things that I learned in here to my scientific research and to my own experiences as far as how I treated my body and what to do to try to heal. I tried these methods. And one of the things that he says, do not eat things that are dead, because then you become that also. And that's why I don't eat meat. I'm not going to kill some animal or grab some meat that somebody else killed, whatever, it doesn't matter, and put that in my body. Because he clearly states that it's not good for your blood. Now, meat has something like heme iron. There's a lot of data. If you really, you can look at the data. And I went off of data, and I went off of this. This thing helped me a great deal. And it still does. And when it talks about not being able to eat more than one type of food, do I know I'm breaking that rule? Yeah, I know I'm breaking it. Look at this. How many things do I put in this smoothie? I'm not claiming that I'm living perfect, but I'm doing the best I can with what I've got. The food is so highly deficient these days that you wouldn't be able to just use 3 ingredients and get all your nutrients. You just wouldn't be able to. But if the food, and this is one thing I've been trying to tell you guys, and this is going to get really weird. Yeah, I feel like the hydrogen's talking to me. Okay, that's just going to sound weird. I already did just saying it. But when I say talking to me, this is what I mean. It's like there's knowledge within. Hydrogen has existed, just like water. Well, here, we know that water has memory. This Japanese guy basically proved it. Nobody believed him for a very long time. Masaru Emoto. Okay, that water has memory. But what is water made of? It's made of mostly hydrogen. I think it's the hydrogen that has the memory. And the more I use it, I started having like literally some of the craziest ideas. I just can't even believe it. Like literally like, I don't want to say like the most brilliant ideas ever, but yeah, like I have ideas for equipment that I believe could make almost any medical condition disappear. That's crazy, guys, but I would need like $20–30 million of funding because the equipment would be pretty involved. I have visions of how to grow food that the world hasn't seen for thousands of years. Like, where do I come up with this stuff? I'm not, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not a guy who is interested in agriculture at all. I don't really do much farming. I'm not super into it. How could I come up with these crazy ideas? I have the craziest stuff that I've come up with, and stuff that I've actually even been able to prove. But anyway, it's a very long story. It's all about having the proper connections. But it's not just the hydrogen communicating with you. I just think that the hydrogen helps purification. Purify this body. I think that the evil one, I think the evil one is literally polluting the environment on purpose. Polluting our water, polluting our food, polluting the air, maybe even medicines. And it's doing it for a reason. The dirtier your blood is, which brings everything to your body, to your tissues, you will not think straight. And not only will you not think straight, you will not be able to have the connection to source. You're not going to be able to have access to certain knowledge. You won't even know how to decipher what's right from wrong sometimes. Like, it's very, very confusing. And anyway, like I said, I didn't want to go too deep into it. But I will tell you that after doing what I've done with my body for as many years as I have, which is another interesting aspect of this book. Jesus talks in this book about 7 years of purification before you're ready for these other things. You know why 7 years is a very interesting number? Because the science of it. Do you realize that your body's actually like a river, by the way. Hence the reason that, Jesus would get baptized in a river, by the way. your body is flowing. So like your skin, for example, is not the same skin you had roughly 3 to 6 weeks ago. It's dying and rejuvenating. There's like this process of life and death. It's like this cycle. Your body's going through that cycle, every part of your body, and everything's doing it at a different rhythm. The liver, the tissues in your colon, your skin, you know, everything is flowing. But it takes 7 years for it to all be brand new again. So he shows you how to live your life and how your body can transform in 7 years. And I've been doing this for quite a while, obviously. It makes you way more clear about things. And then the world begins to be, this is why I don't talk about it. Because the world looks a lot different to me than it probably looks to most people. And I just keep my mouth closed about it because I know that people are waking up, but I know that the things that people talk about, like, oh, I'm waking up and I'm realizing this. I think it's great. But all I can tell you is that it's something that I've known for a long time. There's a lot of things that are coming out that I've known for a long time. And I'm just going to keep it to myself until humanity figures it out. Even the stuff that I'm showing you about health, there's still all these health channels arguing about all sorts of silliness, literally silliness. And I just sit there thinking, I'm not going to say anything because all it does is cause fights, cause arguments. It's all about who's the best at arguing and, you know, good with words. And that doesn't mean that they're right, you know. And notice what this guy did when he wrote this book. When he wrote this book and he was dying and he left the information with someone, he said, when they sell them for $1. $1. They will always be $1 because I want everybody to afford them. All the money goes to printing more books. That sounds like somebody who's trying to spread truth to me. So yes, I'm very impressed by some of the stuff in this book. And it was, now as cool as the book is, I'm not gonna lie to you, as cool as the book is, it's nothing compared to the actual experience. And you know, it's funny, Jesus points that out. And look, maybe I'll read this one tiny piece because he describes all this stuff. And then at the very end, just right here, this is literally the last couple lines here. He just says, more than this cannot be told. And what he's basically telling you is that you just really can't put it into words. He even says, for the holy streams, which I won't go into what that is right now, will take you to the place where words are no more. And that's where I went. You go to a place where, guys, words could never explain it. And if you haven't had somebody actually be there, reading this would make zero sense to you. It literally would make zero sense to you. And I understand that, which is why I don't talk about it. That's the whole reason for me not talking about it. It's because it won't make any sense to anybody. And then he says, and even the holy scrolls cannot record the mysteries therein. And that right there tells you something. It means that if you absolutely want to reach the pinnacle levels of truth, they are not written. They cannot be written. You have to go there for yourself. And so this is more of a guide of how to be able to potentially get there. And I got very lucky because I found the way to get there. But I haven't disclosed it yet to the world or anybody really. And I would do it only on a very, very large show. I would not do it on a small show. There's many reasons for that. I'm already very clear on this. It would have to be somewhere very, very large because once I release this information, I know it'll go viral. I know that the information will spread like wildfire, and then all of a sudden, everyone will start claiming, oh, yeah, I knew that. You know, I went through this. I know all about this, you know. Yet nobody's talking about it, right? And then all of a sudden, everybody will start talking about it. And it's important that people don't get into their heads about things. See, that's one of the biggest problems. People get in their heads about something and think they experienced something or think that they believe something or saw something. And that's a very dangerous ground because if you're trying to go for truth, it's very easy to get lost in your own thoughts and your own beliefs. And I understand that. And I'm not throwing anybody under the bus or anything. I just think it's to be cautious with. So that's why I will not disclose the information until someday when there's a large place where I can do it. Which, who knows, maybe will never happen, but that's okay. Until then, I will continue to embark on my journey, and I'm sure everybody will be on theirs. That's just the best I can say. So hopefully that satisfied you guys. I didn't want to go too deep into it. I didn't even go that deep at all, obviously. But so let's see here. Wow, you guys said a lot. Okay, Michelle says, you literally were humming an old pop song last week. I know I'm always got a song in my head that I had a really spiritual experience with. I know they pop in my head. And I always listen to the lyrics because I'm like, why is this song coming to me? After an intense medical procedure with ozone, love is all around. Yeah, love is all around you. Love that one. Come on and let it show. Okay, Michelle says, wow, thank you so much for sharing. Soldier's Craft says, have you ever read other volumes? Yeah, I got them all actually. You want me to go grab them? I got a stack of them. After this book and reading that pertinent piece of information, I went and bought every single book they had. I got them all, and I've read them all. But this one by far is the best. That's the best one, in my personal opinion. Michelle says, experience is the best. Really awesome to find things to confirm it. Oh, I know. The experience was already good enough. It's just that finding a book where supposedly Jesus literally describes the one thing that nobody describes, it was like, whoa. And I love a lot of spiritual people who've walked the planet, whether it was Buddha and Krishna and Moses and all these different people, but Jesus has been one of my more favorite ones. I mean, I like Lao Tzu a lot too. But yeah, Jesus is up there. He's one of my favorites. There are other volume, Soldier's Craft. Somebody says it's not weird. Thank you for the donation, by the way. Jazz Banana says, I think there may be foods out there that are extremely encompassing but lesser known. It's not just that, Jazz. The biggest issue is, and I shouldn't reveal too much about this, I'll just say that our food is not being grown, even the organic food, the way that it could be. And it's because we don't know. I believe that I do know now how to do it. But I would just say pretty much the entire planet probably doesn't know that this is possible. And so I want to work with somebody. I kind of want to work with Elon Musk's brother. He seems to have the funding and really into agriculture. And I want to show the world what's possible, because when you start, I'm not even consuming that food because I don't have the equipment. It would have to be invented. And basically the equipment would cost something in the neighborhood of, for the farming part, it would be in the millions of dollars. I mean, I'm looking at some things that would be really, really big, but the food, it'll bring you nutrients like nothing you could have even imagined. We wouldn't need to eat much. That would be the other thing. We would not need to eat much in order to get all the nutrients we need. Solar's Craft says, yes, science has said water has memory. Yep. Michelle says, that's amazing. Makes sense. Have you experimented with certain frequency music while using hydrogen to enhance? I know about the frequencies. I know about music. And the answer is yes, but I found something better already. There is literally music in nature. You just have to be able to hear it. And that is, I mean, literally, he speaks of it in here too. And I experienced it. And it has to do with a lot of things, but more specifically water. There's a reason, there's a Bible verse that I would say almost nobody on the entire planet even understands what it means. And what it basically says is, and the voice of God is like the sound of many waters. That's the music. That is my absolute favorite. Within the water, because by the way, hydrogen gas itself, I believe, because I found the Bible verses, is literally, it literally is saying that God's spirit is hydrogen gas. That's basically what it's saying. Just look at the light of the world. It's all, look at the stars. What do you think they're made of? It's all hydrogen, guys. Hydrogen is what holds the memories. It is the true power source. It is the cleanest stuff there is. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I mean, not to go down the whole spiritual thing, but it's very special. And it brings life. Life, it is the source of life. And that's why I think it's good when you're sick. It brings life back into you and does so many amazing things. And so the sounds of, not just the sounds of silence, but the true sounds of nature, and they're hidden. I'm not talking about just like some bird or something pretty like that. There are things out there that you can hear them, but only if you are able to reach a certain place. You wouldn't be able to just sit down and hear it. You just won't hear it. And that's why when I did finally realize, and when I did finally hear it, it was just blowing my mind. And the fact that he speaks of it in that book is just unbelievable. But anyway, okay. We'll get, we'll see how far. Let's see, I got to go soon too. Soldier's Craft says, I was reading comments on the book and some say there was 3 to 4 volumes. Yep, I got them all. Michelle says, have you prayed about writing a book that would only be $1? Have I prayed about it? No, I've not prayed about that. But they're supposed to be $1 forever and ever. But I think the books now are selling for like $12, $13. They're hard to find, actually. So people are jacking up the price, unfortunately. Jazz Banana says, haha, imagine patenting spiritual methods. I'm not trying to patent any of it, by the way. I just want the information to be accurate, for people to know where it came from. I would explain it all. I will explain the things that I know nobody would understand unless you had been there. So if somebody wants a challenge and say, oh, I've been there, please go ahead and explain, because I'll immediately know if it was true or not. But once I give all the information, what stops other people from just trying to copy it? And I don't want anybody utilizing this information for an evil thing or for taking advantage of people. Just like what I hate to say this, but just like what I think sometimes religions do. They'll take some truths or do some things and they'll try to use, the knowledge to gain power over people. And I do not like that. It bothers me. I want people to be free and I want people to have their own connection, because that's the only way you're going to feel that magical stuff. Anyway, Terry C says, thanks for sharing. Brilliant. Really? I was very brief and I'd love to really share the true stuff someday. Do you go there more often? No, it is very hard to go there. It is not easy. I'm actually prepping my body for that journey again. And it takes I've been prepping for years. And so one of these days I will go back there again. Soldier's Craft says, I believe in the last days, Israel will have that method and why Russia will attack it. And why Russia will attack it. I don't know, have what method? Oh, method of producing the food you're talking about. I don't know if Israel will do it. I don't know who's going to do it first. I would like to, if I were to make a wild guess, I'm going to guess the Japanese. But we'll see. I might be willing to share my methods with them because very honorable, and I would like to, and I think they could actually carry it out. That would be the other part. It's still going to be difficult to carry out. Michelle says, wow, do you have to go into deep nature to hear it away from suburbia? Yes, you can certainly not hear it. When you get to that sensitivity place, it's like water that is perfectly calm. That's why Jesus would say things like, be still. He's talking about stillness, because, and then he says, and know that I am God. Because when you go still, you're able to see and hear things, but your brain can't be your guide. That's the biggest fundamental problem. Your true guide will be your heart. And it's very hard. You can't trick your heart. I would say it's very hard to trick your heart. It's not hard. It's impossible. Your heart will reveal the truth. And it's very, very difficult to try to trick it. But yes, you have to be in a very, very quiet place. And me personally, running water, the moving water is part of the process. And I probably already said too much by giving you that. So Michelle says, that's so true. Perfect. The information, and be so carefully led as you are. Ezekiel, to take plunder, to take booty. Just reading comments. Love always. It's not weird. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, you're welcome, guys. Yeah, so with that being said, It's very hard to get purity. If you don't clean your water, you're gonna have a hard time reaching purity. This is a lab test that shows the way that I actually clean my water and how clean it gets it. There's pages of chemicals, and if I were to just grab these pages just so you see the numbers, these are the numbers before. This is what was in the water. All these numbers of PFAS. See all the different chemical names, all the garbage that's in the water. And there's pages of it. After it runs through the carbon distiller, zeros. It takes everything out, guys. Look at this, everything. This is why I use this method. No other water filter can do that. And then of course, pure products. So that's another thing you're gonna realize. Everything for me is about purity. And then the name of the product, Pure Yum. And they're all about the fruits, the vegetables, the nuts, the seeds, the beans, just like I am. And I'm following that information based on this, but also based on a lot of scientific evidence too. So it all lines up perfectly. So that's why the decision's easy. That's why I don't understand why it's an argument. I still do not understand why it's an argument. Where people really believe that eating nothing but meat is the way. And I know that some people feel benefit from that, and I understand why though. And you have to look at short-term data. The short-term data looks really good. It's the long-term data where it really falls apart. The body clearly needs certain nutrients from plants, clearly needs the minerals, clearly needs the fiber, the phytonutrients. It goes on and on and on and on. But I don't like to argue about that stuff because everybody gets really weird about it. Does it remove aluminum? Absolutely, Michelle. Yeah, do you want me to find it on there? I mean, I could prove it to you. Let's see if I can prove it to you. Where would it be? Arsenic. But where is aluminum? But the simple answer is yes. This eliminates, not only does it eliminate, oh wow, look at this one, holy cow. Let's see here, I gotta go soon, but where did it go? Is that glyphosate? Let's see here, where'd it go? There it is, glyphosate. Look at the amount in the water. It was crazy, super high. And then of course, zero, boom. Yeah, because that's what carbon distillation does. In fact, it removes everything. It goes so far as removing all the minerals too. I mean, it just removes everything. But remember, there's inorganic minerals also, as well as organic minerals. Trying to find aluminum, I don't see it in here. Here's uranium. That's another crazy part, guys. I didn't even know about radioactive contaminants. Radioactive. And how this can also remove stuff like that. But the big one too is the bacteria, parasites, viruses, bacteria. It went from this to basically non-detectable anymore. Yeah, here we go. Removal of 99.999%. I mean, it's impressive. It's very impressive. And it's cheap. It's not even that expensive. You can get with a discount code, the cheapest one's like 600 something bucks. The name of the website's called mypurewater.com. And with the discount code Uprising144K, it's like 500 and something bucks. To clean your water to the highest degree for years, by the way. You don't buy the device every month or every couple of years like buying bottled water. It just removes everything. Michelle says, epic. Radioactive contaminants also. Yep. It is impressive. Jazz says, would be ideal if the technology you have in mind can be developed to be used by anyone, like the Hydrofix. Yeah, but it won't be. You would need very large areas where you would grow all the food. Maybe someday. You know what? As the technology gets developed, it probably would get cheaper in time. Michelle says, I imagine people were able to cleanse with the clean distilled and hydrogen water, it would take care of the oxalate issues people seem to be having. Absolutely, Michelle. Why do you think I inhale this? I'm inhaling the hydrogen because I already did a video showing how hydrogen appears to protect against oxalates. You also need proper levels of all the nutrients in your body, specifically like the calciums, the vitamin C's, the different things, so that they can actually bind with oxalates and neutralize them. Also, when you drink a lot of water, which you should be properly hydrated, You technically, according to the data, shouldn't have too many issues with the oxalates. Everything gets flushed out. Stuff like that. So I don't think that the oxalates are that big of a deal. And I think the biggest issue with oxalates is when you're juicing, actually, because you're juicing all these produce into a little juice. That's why I make smoothies. Not only do I want the fiber, there's less produce in here, which is way less oxalates. But just remember, you can look at anything and make it look bad. If I drink too much water, I'll die. Does that mean that I shouldn't have water? I mean, it's just a really, really bad argument. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Any last questions before I go? Because I got to roll. I guess I could show you how I seal up my jar. If you guys really want to see it, how I preserve my smoothies. All right, let's see. I guess I'll show you if you guys want to see. I'm going to do it anyway. I want my whole life to be with you. Okay. Okay, let's go. So, I don't like to waste anything. I like to honor the farmers who grew all this stuff, the companies that make these really nice, wonderful products. So therefore, I don't want to waste anything in my blender. So I start by scraping everything before I wash the pitcher. By the way, I'm extremely grateful to organic farmers. I think it's beautiful that they work so hard to try to grow without pesticides. And typically what I do here. So I'm aware that you can just put water in this thing. It won't be quite the same though. I've tried it. So I'm going to scrape the big stuff first, and then I'll do a little bit of water to try to scrape off the rest of it. Don't want any of this magical stuff to be wasted. To me, this is truly magical. To get food without chemicals, can you believe it? We didn't even have these crazy chemicals a couple 100 years ago. Now, you got to pay extra. Like this cheaper with the chemicals, isn't that crazy? It's cheaper to get the stuff with the chemicals. It's more expensive to get the stuff without the chemicals. So crazy. Kind of like cheeseburgers. I used to buy cheeseburgers for 99 cents. That's what I lived off of, actually. And when I buy my greens now, my goodness, I mean, they are kind of expensive. I try not to think about the money when it comes to my health, but it's amazing how much a very simple just greens for a salad are these days. Okay, let's see if I can grab this other stuff here. Let's put some water in here. Put it in the blender. Okay, let me put that in here. And I think that's about as good as I'm going to get. Then, take this to the next level. Okay, so have you guys seen how I seal this? I'm about to show you. If you can see it from there. So I try to point the camera that way. I got my phone plugged in, so I can't take it over there. It's not wireless right now. Okay, so you can preserve these so they stay fresher. Fresh is better. And I found that they go bad if I do not do this, so this is what I do. Here's one lid. Put this guy on top of it. lock it in place and suck the air out of it. Let's see. Do you have a farmer's market near you? Yes, and unfortunately I got some bad info about that. Do you feed your plants the hydrogen water? They look healthy. The cleaner the water, the better for the plants, and then hydrogen takes it definitely to a next level. So this thing is now officially sealed. This is gonna go in the fridge and will stay good for a long time now. There's a light. All right, guys, there you go. Yeah, farmers markets, you know, I think they're awesome, but I've also have known and met people now that are so scammy. They literally go and buy produce somewhere and take them to the farmer's market and pretend that they grew it and try to jack up the prices. Can you believe people do this kind of stuff? It's just crazy these days. The world we live in. But, you know, yeah, they're super cool, though, when there's real farmers there. Okay, I gotta go, guys. Gotta get back to work. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time on the next one. Thanks for hanging out.